based on solely resale price gap analysis, which we follow, and we have seen profits for our resale buyers, okay? I'm just worried lah. Welcome to another new launch review with the JNA Investments team. And today I have with me our investments team lead who has done served close to 50 investment clients for the past 1 year. You know, the whole investment landscape is getting very crazy, and we are very thankful because we have a lot of your support in getting us as preferred a real estate investment partner.
Yep.
And you know, we have always been refining our operations and our process to make sure that you are profitable in all of your investments. And you know, today we are going to be talking about one of the most I think one of the more, I want to say most, but more anticipated launches that is coming out.
Yeah.
Because in this very Chuan area.
Very Chuan area.
Very Chuan area.
A very big area.
Big area.
Yep.
You know, comes en bloc attempt.
Yep.
That happened for 2 years. Our capital markets lawyer was the one who orchestrated this en bloc attempt as well. You know, he pieced everything together. And it's one of the only few launches, or I would say parcels, that's available for sale in the Lorong Chuan area. So of course, we'll be talking about Chuan Park today.
And whether it's worth to invest or whether you guys are looking for own stay, how the numbers actually make sense.
You know, I have a lot of mixed feelings for this project. And I hope that this review will allow investors to understand the numbers a bit more, right? But if you're an own stay buyer, no worries. We have a specific segment about the pros and cons of the development, you know, for you to consider, okay? So if, let's say, you are a first-time investor, you don't have any real estate agent friends who seem to be competent in real estate investments, or maybe, let's say, you are a second-time investor, you know, you have decoupled your home and you specifically want a real estate investment partner with you, okay? You can always scan the WhatsApp code down below, and this is exactly how you can contact us. Number 2, if you still are on the fence, thinking about when to invest, want to get fed by some real estate news, objective real estate news, or even understand some of the damn cool listings that we have, okay? You can go down to our Telegram community, join it. Our Telegram community has more than 1,600 members over here. And we're just so thankful that all of you guys are loving our content as well. So please remember, do the customary like, subscribe, share with your friends, right? If you feel that this content is going to benefit you, okay? So we're going to start our analysis. But before that, so let's just do the customary. We kind of know a little thing or two in investments. Because in the past 7 years, we have served more than 400 investment clients with annualized gains of 19.84% per annum. And I think that I'm very proud of this because I think, till date, we are the number 1 investment team in Singapore with the returns that we have. And you know what? This year and last year we had so many clients who have already actualized their profits. So we're not talking about paper profits over here. Actualized profits who have re-entered into the investment market with us. I still remember one of our clients who met us when he was 23 years old. He just profited 400 plus K from his first investment. And now he just entered, you know, he's considering, should I buy a core central region property or should I re-enter for a second flip?
And I think at his age, we kind of told him that, right? I think the core central is perfect for like own stay purposes.
That's right.
But ultimately at his age, with the loan that he can, he has so much more opportunities.
Absolutely, because there are so many more flip cycles they can go for, right? If you are still so confused about what we're talking about, you know, just contact us. We will guide you through the process. We are, you know, in the past, the 400 plus clients that we have, all of them are between the age of 21 all the way up to 75 years old. But the majority of them are millennials and Gen Zs. And, you know, I think you all need a real estate investment partner with you. Whether is it to have a second opinion or whether is it to know how to start this game, because sometimes we all feel that it's very far away from us, right?
And very scary.
It's very scary. Yeah. A lot of them, they tell us it's very scary, but it is not, because we are here to guide you throughout the entire process, okay? So without further ado, let's start Chuan Park. If you are hearing us on Spotify, welcome to the show. So let's start.
Yep.
Yeah.
So looking at Chuan Park, I think it's a very anticipating project because around the area itself, it has been some time since the last new launch actually came up. And it's also a very big plot of land. So for some background, you know, they had some saga that happened during the en bloc itself, but ultimately it went through. And I think it's a project that a lot of people are kind of looking at it. So today we're kind of breaking down the numbers a little bit more to see whether own stay and investments in terms of numbers, if it actually makes sense.
Absolutely. So just to touch on this slide a little bit more, I think one amazing thing about this development is that based on our investment philosophy, if you don't know what's our new launch investment philosophy or our resale investment philosophy, 900 units is a very big development. When you see the name Kingsford there, usually Kingsford is a developer that loves to take on big projects.
Consider like mega development.
Absolutely.
Right?
This is one of the biggest development that's going to come in the next 2 years. So it seems quite exciting, but hold your horses because later on we're going to look at the numbers and whether it kind of makes sense or not, okay?
Yep. Okay. So there are a lot of information that we don't have yet, such as the floor plan or the exact indicative pricing. But I think based on some of the break-even costs, we try to break down the numbers as much as possible, and then we'll do a second part review once we actually have the actual pricings and floor plan.
Just to let you all know how it usually works, if you go online and you search the Chuan Park Residences, or there are so many websites of different names, right? Developers, these are not developers' website. These are all agents' website. So that's the reason why when you see a floor plan there, most likely it's not accurate, unless the person's father is Kingsford.
The
If
developer.
not, and you know what? Even if the son of Kingsford, he's not going to release the floor plans like this. Okay, so usually it's about a week before balloting, right? Or during the week of balloting, that's when the pricing is going to come out. That's exactly when the floor plan is going to come out, right? So being a chief of a couple, I think I've been a chief of 5 projects in Singapore, right? Mostly I'm in District 15. I kind of know the psyche of a developer. Developers usually love to come out with their pricing a couple of days before because they want to see what is the sign-up rates, the turn-up rates. They also want to know
how crazy
the market is. Price it, whether is it realistically or price it a little higher. Okay, so we are going to be doing a 2-part series for this. The first part, we're going to give you our estimation. We're going to give you some handlebars for you to hold on to so that if you are really seriously considering our Chuan Park, you kind of know what is our direction from the JNA Investments team. And number 2, there's going to be a second part review where we'll go very in-depth into the quantum play. We're going to talk a little bit more about the floor plans as well as the exit strategy, whether based on the pricing and the layouts that we have, is it going to be wise? So that those people who are going for balloting, you know what kind of layouts we have. Can I share a story before we start this?
Yeah.
I know a lot of people say that I like to tell a lot of stories, but I really have to share this story. Because that time when we went to a specific balloting, right? Because I was considering my own investment property, second one, right? And I was hearing, the project team shouting out the units that was bought. This developer actually priced the development really well.
Yeah.
In a way whereby pool view facing units are very similar to non-pool view facing units, right? And when we hear the unit number that's been called out, we had a list of the top 20 units that we wanted to go into, right? Actually, top 10. Our heart sank. Every single 90% of the units that were announced for those people who have the great balloting number, our heart sank. I mean, it left opportunities for us to buy and our investors to buy. But we realized that real estate investment education, specifically for practitioners, okay, I'm talking about not people just sharing content, but people who are really investing on the ground, is really lacking.
Yep.
And this is the reason why we have the burden in our heart to tell you, hey, not about choosing the right development. It's about choosing the right unit, understanding the pricing strategy, understanding resale price gap, knowing actually how past clients have profited, and not just coming up with rough concepts of helping people invest, because we have seen people losing money in investments a lot of times already.
Because I think even within the same development, different units, the kind of profits that people actually make actually differ quite greatly, depending on the unit that actually decide on the launch day itself.
That's right. So please, right? Find a good team to represent you on this and get a good team to be able to advise you throughout the entire investment journey. Okay, let's go back to Chuan Park.
So a little bit on developer background to understand some of the projects that they have actually developed in the past. Chuan Park developer actually did Kingsford Water Bay, also in D19, which Chuan Park is at. Also Kingsford Hillview Peak at D23, and then the Alps Residence at Tampines area. Okay, so just to go back a little bit on the en bloc details, I think Chuan Park, after a couple of tries, they finally, actually 4 attempts, they finally actually sold. And it was, I think it was a huge saga where, some of the owners, after the whole thing actually went through, kind of decided to take a step back because they realized that there was some discrepancy in the GFA that the developers actually provided. Yeah, so I think even through the whole legal process, ultimately, Chuan Park still en bloc.
Yes.
So kudos to the developer who handled the whole situation well, and also the owners who actually profited from it itself.
Especially also the real estate agency that's handling this entire en bloc case, right? Because this will be the second highest en bloc since 2019, with the highest being near Farrer area. And not only that, the en bloc market has slowed down a lot. So this is actually good news for those people in Chuan Park. Of course, there were discrepancies that was also mentioned. Okay, so for those own stay buyers out there, we're going to share with you a little bit more about the pros and cons about buying this development if you're going to stay here. As you know, we are a very emotionless team, but I think it's also important because we also want to make sure that we marry both own stay plus investment criteria for some families who are looking to send their kids maybe to the schools within 1 kilometer distance. So let's talk about the pros, Grace.
So I think for pros itself, the first thing that people have in mind is the location itself. Because I think it's quite close to quite mature estates like Serangoon, close to Bishan also. If you're talking about nearby schools, you actually have 5 primary schools within 1 km. So you have quite a few choices if you want your kids to go to the list of schools that you actually see on the screen itself. And of course, the next one is that there's 1 minute walk to Lorong Chuan MRT, basically at your doorstep itself. So in terms of like rental, if you're looking to rent it out or your kids have to, travel, right? It's very convenient in terms of transport itself.
Yeah, just for clarification's sake, good rental doesn't mean good rental yield. It just means that it will be easier to rent it out. But of course, rental yield still is based off the quantum of the property, right? Which we'll analyze in the next slide, in the next few slides about the break-even pricing and our estimated launch price for Chuan Park. Yeah.
Yep. I think like we mentioned, if you want to go for shopping or you want to go for food, I think you have a lot of options nearby at either Bishan side area or even just one stop down to Nex and Serangoon.
Yeah, I would say that this development will be one of the more convenient launches that's coming up for the whole of 2024. Yeah, moving on to 2025 as well. Very exciting when it comes to its location, very exciting when it comes to the proximity to the MRT station, and also super exciting when it comes to the 1 kilometer to some good schools, right? Like St. Gabriel's, CHIJ, Chuan as well. 2 kilometers to a school that I used to attend with Chris, Pei Chun Public School. So not too bad, but of course we only look at a 1 kilometer radius, okay? Let's go into the cons and understand a little bit more about from the entry price perspective, okay? Based on our knowledge on resale price gap, where we have analyzed so many resale transactions, profitable and non-profitable ones, whether does it make sense to buy and whether will you be able to preserve your capital eventually, okay? Yeah.
Okay, so firstly, let's take a look at the land bid itself from the en bloc. Just to note that this is before area harmonization. So if you don't understand what area harmonization is about, I think you can hop on to the previous video where we actually kind of broke down steps by steps what area harmonization is all about. So looking at the break-even pricing after factoring your land costs, your building costs, etc., we have a break-even about 2,229 per square feet. So if we were to kind of look at what the average launch per square feet is, since we don't have the actual indicative, if we were to look at 10%, we're going to be looking about 2,400, 15 about 2,563, 20% about 2,675, and then 25% at about 2,786.
So Grace, for the past few launches this year, what is the average break-even margin that developers went for?
I think usually developers launch it about 15% there-ish, especially for such a big development at Chuan Park. I would say that there is a potential that developer may launch it a little bit more sensitively at the start. Because for bigger developments, I think the developer want to kind of clear off a certain number of units at the start before they kind of price stage the pricings up later on.
To secure the loan. So for all of y'all who are very confused by the numbers over here, it's okay, right? Just look at 2,563 per square foot as our indicative average pricing for Chuan Park, okay? Just remember that price. Yeah.
Okay, so moving on, what we are going to be doing is that we're going to kind of look at D19's itself. What are some of the other launches that actually have happened recently, TOP'd, and one interesting that we're going to be doing in today's video is to actually take a look at how these past launches have actually done. Have they profited? Have they made a loss? And if they have profited, why are some doing better than the others?
Absolutely.
And we'll base this on, looking at, let's say, Kingsford Water Bay as a resale versus Garden Residence, Affinity at Serangoon, and Riverfront, which all launched at the same time in 2018.
That's right. So we are going to compare the TOP prices of Kingsford Water Bay, which is the OG development, right? I've done my Kingsford as well. I still remember I was at a show flat back in 2018. All the way down to Garden Residences, Affinity, and Riverfront Residences. We want to understand the price gap, specifically for the new TOP supply versus the current launch price, to see ultimately who made more money, because these are all District 19 projects. Of course, proximity-wise, they're not the closest, but these are mega developments in D19. After this, what we will do is that we are going to go specifically into the resale comparison for Chuan Park, and from there you will understand, based on JNA Investments team resale price gap, right? Something that I think for those who have followed us for a long time, you will understand. For those who don't worry. You can always ask us what it is, and then we can understand whether, based on resale price gap, actually does it make sense to enter Chuan Park at 2,563 per square foot, okay? Let's head on.
So in terms of the characteristics for these developments, I think they're quite comparable, all being in District 19. Of course, later on, I'll show you more specific in how far away they are from each other. And then, of course, the next one, number of units, they're all big developments, which is a good comparison. And besides Kingsford Water Bay, Garden Residence, Affinity, and Riverfront all launched in 2018.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the breakdown of where each development actually is, Kingsford Water Bay and Riverfront being closer to each other, and then Garden Residence and Affinity being closer to each other. So if we take Kingsford Water Bay as like the resale that we're all going to be comparing with, Riverfront is the closest, about 650 meters if we take point to point, and then Affinity about 3.5 kilometers, and then Garden Residence at 3.8 kilometers.
So at first glance, right, when you're looking at this slide, the first thing you're going to think is that in terms of centrality of the location, right, definitely Garden Residences and Affinity is doing better because they are very near to Serangoon, right?
Yeah.
And of course, Kingsford and Riverfront, despite it being in District 19, as all of you all know, District 19 is actually one of the top few places with whether is it landed transactions or non-landed transactions, private transactions, it ranks one of the top when it comes to overall year-to-year transactions in Singapore, right? And Kingsford and Riverfront is very near to the Hougang area, right? So at this moment, some of y'all may be picturing in your mind that Kingsford Water Bay as well as Riverfront is not going to do as well because to a lot of people, when you hear people talking about real estate investments, you always think location is key, okay? So let's go and let's break the numbers down a little bit and see what's the average gain, right, for each development.
Yep. So if we take a look at 2018 prices, how much, because 2018 is the period, let's say Kingsford Water Bay actually TOP'd. And that's when Garden Residence, Affinity and Riverfront actually launched. So we're going to take a look at these prices at 2018 itself and how they compare to each other. Kingsford Water Bay, when they TOP'd, it was about 1,337. Garden Residence about 1,006. Affinity about 1,005, and then Riverfront at about 1,003. So naturally, Garden and Affinity would be slightly higher if you were to go back in time because of the locality itself also.
Yes, and for those who also know, 2018 July was actually when the government actually released, adjusted the cooling measures, increased it by 5%, and also there was also a price dip for Affinity at Serangoon, within that night. So I still remember that particular night before government announced the next day there's a new measure, a lot of people were queuing up to buy new developments.
Yep.
But unfortunately, the next day, a lot of new developers actually gave a 5% discount, which was actually a lot of time where our clients went in, right? And this is actually a very clear indication that when it comes to investing in real estate assets, right, entry price is key. It's not location, right? From first glance, you can see what's the average per square foot of entry price. So from there, I hope that as you're watching this video, you will start guessing who made more profits.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the location ultimately is always a bonuses that we will tell our clients.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Okay, so moving forward, let's look at the differences compared to Kingsford Water Bay that TOP in 2018 versus the new launches back then in 2018, which is the Garden, Affinity and Riverfront. So the differences between their per square feet for Garden Residence was 297, Affinity was 180, and then Riverfront Residence was minus 25, meaning for a new launch at Riverfront Residence, it actually sold lower or under than something that just newly TOP'd.
Absolutely. This is a rare case when it comes to new developments launches because most developers love to price it at least 300 to 400 per square foot higher than the new TOP supply. But recently, in recent years, I think this year, we witnessed a particular development, right, whereby Quantum, that developer has launched, is actually cheaper than one of the neighboring projects as well for resale, right? And that resale project is actually not even the newest TOP development in that area, okay? It's just across the road, okay? So I think this shows opportunity. When we see things like this, the opportunistic mindset of an investor will be like, hey, seems interesting. But then the fearful mindset of an investor will be like, why is it cheaper than a resale development?
So I think very conflicting the human mind.
Absolutely. Greed and fear, okay, but yeah, it's fine. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you were to see how the prices have actually increased, meaning we want to see how these developments actually did or how they performed, we can see that Kingsford Water Bay, back then being the newly TOP resale project, increased by 101 per square feet, followed by the Garden Residence that increased 173, and then Affinity at Serangoon that increased by 240, and of course we have the winner that of Riverfront Residence that increased 377. So if we were to backtrack a little bit, you can kind of see the correlation in how the differences of a new launch with the TOP actually correlated with the amount that each development actually earned.
Yes. So to put it simply, right, the gap between the new TOP prices to the launch price of a new development actually correlates the profits that is made eventually, right? So the narrower the gap, of course, there's more profits that's being made. Even if the distance is 3.5 click away, whether it's of a more central locality. I believe I just coined a new word called centrality. I don't think there's a new word, but I'm going to coin that word. It's called centrality of new developments. Okay, but anyways, just to talk a little bit more about this, to give you a little bit more context and story, right? Because 2018, our was in the market, and I'm very active in the market then. I still recall very fondly that Garden Residences, when it was launched, it was one of the more coveted launches in D19 because it was a joint development by two very big developers. And when I saw the marketing done by Garden Residences, one of my clients were asking me, and I still remember, he said, should I consider Garden Residences or Affinity as a Rangoon, right? I told them, then we had no resale price gap or, case study or whether new launch selection, stuff like that. But I told them, I said, when a developer starts doing a lot of marketing and talk about how good it is, it reminds me of Sky Habitat versus Skyview. So I told him, looking at the PSF, it doesn't kind of make sense. Of course, there was one of my 15 clients who bought in D19 decided that, okay, I want to try Garden Residences. Now they're finding it hard to offload, but those that went to Affinity, actually, they found it easier to offload, right? And looking at the numbers specifically, right, it seems that when you buy a newly TOP development, right, it seems that profits is going to be lesser than the new launches. Okay, but hold your horses. The thought should not end there, because you think about it. If let's say you were to enter Garden Residences and then you had to rent because you are going into the whole cycle of flipping, right? Your rental is definitely not going to cover the 70 per square foot increment as compared to Kingsford Water Bay. It would have been way better if you were to consider a resale option. Okay, I'm going to share this. I'm going to say this clearly in this video. If you chance upon till this part of the video, great job. You got pro tip number 1. But if you haven't, I guess too bad. I mean, if you haven't, you also wouldn't hear this part. But our webinar will cover more of these kind of things, right? Resale versus new launch. There is never a better option. It always goes into the pricing, it goes into your cost breakdown, and you got to be very, very prudent to calculate every single cost that's incurred. Yes, people do agree that for new developments, developer do price staging, there is a higher assurance that developments can make more money. But do you know I've seen so many developers who have dropped prices as well?
That will be probably our next video that we're going to be
Absolutely, because there's 44 developers that's facing very close ABSD timeline, and I love this kind of opportunities, okay? But unfortunately, government did give some extension now, okay? Number 2, right, is this, okay? When it comes to resale development, it doesn't mean that when it is older, you cannot buy and there's no profits, okay? But it also doesn't mean that when it's cheaper, you can buy because you can make profits, because we have seen resale developments that made money. We also have seen resale developments that have lost money or even stagnated, okay? So at this very juncture, ultimately, you need to go back to what the resale price gap analysis is for those who are very familiar with the G&A community, as well as what the new launch selection criteria is as well, okay? That's the reason why when you come to us for a one-to-one consultation, our products always change because prices always change. Okay, and just want to share with you guys this so that you don't jump into any conclusion.
I think to add on to Jarvis, how we actually determine whether it's a resale or new launch, ultimately, like what Jarvis mentioned, is always the cost involved, which is something that we will break down for you. Because I think generally people would say like a certain unit will make like maybe 200 in 3 years. But after that, 3 years later, you realize, hey, actually the profit that come back, it's... because we always talk about the gross profit.
Absolutely.
But there's like your stamp duties, your property tax, maintenance fee, even your interest or your rental that is going to eat into all this. So you need to make sure that your cost is actually broken down dollar by dollar.
Absolutely. I still remember one of our clients who almost pulled the trigger for a particular new development. We calculated the cost for him. We realized that after 3 years, after going through the hassle of even renting and buying a new development, he's going to make a total of $10,000 in profit in 3 years. So ultimately, he went for a resale option, of course, right? So do your calculation well, right? Of course, for those who have alternative housing, for those who can stay with your parents, no shame, okay? It's great. Rent-free, maybe pay up $500, $1K, still cheaper than a car rental. You can profit and flip, you know? That's fun.
Okay, so if you were to put into perspective in today's market, if you were to look at Chuan Park's launch price as compared to, like let's say TOP projects that TOP, let's say last year, we look at Affinity and Riverfront Residences. Assuming Chuan Park actually launches at about 2,550. We want to see what's the difference with the TOP projects today. With Affinity, we're looking at about 793 per square feet. And then the difference with Riverfront Residence, we'll be looking at about 861 per square feet. So if we take a look at these numbers as compared to the previous slides, I think this one, the differences, right? It seems like the difference actually...
It's a lot.
Tripled, double to tripled in terms of the pricing. From like, let's say 180, 297 to 793, 861.
So of course you want to put yourself in the buyer's perspective when you're selling the development. Let's say a buyer comes in 4 years after it's launched. Yes, it's indeed true that some developments, they will be 4 years older. But do you think a client who's coming in, what's their main concern? How new the development is? Or is it more of, which is more affordable for me? Maybe at this particular price range, I could have gotten a 4-bedroom in Affinity and Riverfront or even Garden Residences versus a 2-bedroom at Chuan Park. So you got to think, right? When it comes to out of central region specifically, what is the main criteria of a resale buyer? Because that's where and who you're going to sell to.
Yeah, so I think in terms of exit strategy-wise, it's also important to understand the profile of your buyers when you're going to be exiting 3-4 years. Because I think CCR buyers are very different from OCR in the sense that if people have the budget to enter into CCR, they'll pay premium for like the
Trophy
best
assets.
facing,
Highest floor,
bigger floor plates,
high ceiling.
Correct.
There's no such thing called wasted space.
There's no budget.
It's just
limit.
exuberance.
It's like, what's my dream home? But I think in OCR, where people are looking for, let's say, school or for kids, right? They're a little bit more price sensitive. Where
100%.
they may kind of
practical as well.
Correct. Give up some things, like let's say a home shelter,
Or
a
view.
storage, or a high unblocked view for maybe let's say 300-400K difference in terms of pricing.
Absolutely. Okay, so pro tip number 2. Remember this.
So looking at the distance for Chuan Park versus Affinity and Riverfront, Chuan Park is about 2.12 km from Affinity and about 4.5 km from Riverfront itself.
Absolutely.
So I would say in terms of location-wise, the distance between each is going to be a consideration, but ultimately what's the most important is the entry price they're also going to be entering into.
Of course, at this moment, some individuals will think that, of course, Chuan Park is just a minute walk to Lorong Chuan, right? While the other developments, it's a little bit further. But fun fact, Serangoon North MRT station is going to be launched for Affinity, which is also a walking distance as well. So there are some things that you got to take note of, right? When it comes to resellability, always think, ultimately, who are the buyers you're going to sell to? Who is your target audience? And when they are considering between your development and other developments, what are the consideration factors? All of this we will actually run through with our clients through our investment consultations as well.
So now that we've kind of seen how TOP and new launches actually correlate with each other in terms of the differences in the per square feet, let's take a look at the closer comparison for the resale among, I would say, around Chuan Park itself.
Absolutely. You know, I grew up in Lorong Chuan. Even though I don't stay in Lorong Chuan, I'm a Choa Chu Kang West Side boy. I think for those who watch Let's Get Real, you will know that. Moving to the east, so I always tell my clients this, it doesn't mean that people in the west will only buy developments in the west. I can't wait to move to the east. And I grew up there because my best friend used to stay at the Spring Bloom. So I remember when I was there 20 years ago. Okay, I don't understand why people will buy Lorong Chuan because there's nothing but an MRT station. But recent years, it seems like, you know, there are a couple more. I think there's a Starbucks or a Coffee Bean that's there. And it makes it a little bit more, you know, metropolitan, I would say. Yeah, okay. So I know this place relatively well. I used to play basketball there. But when we go into the numbers specifically, we want to understand what is the methodology, you know, that we adopt when it comes to identifying the right resale properties versus the right new launch in that area. And if you remember in resale price gap, right? One of the pro tip that we always share with people is this: any developments that's above the 10 to 15 years tenure difference from your new developments, there should be a percentage difference of, okay, this one you can write in the comment section below. If you don't know, it's 40%, right? More than 40%. So let's analyze based on that methodology. A lot of people like to paint stories in their head or give stories, but the key is facts don't lie. Figures also don't lie. We've analyzed so many projects, right? And our clients have made so much money. So let's look at it. With that in mind, let's analyze the resale developments.
So the closest comparison for resale properties that is going to be comparable to Chuan Park would be the Scala that actually TOP'd in 2013. Also quite a big development on mid-size, about 486 units.
And by the time Chuan Park is being launched, this development will already be about 18 years. But currently, based on the entry price analysis for resale price gap, this is actually within the 10 to 15 years mark. So from there, we can analyze where the Scala actually is. So in the next slide, you can see that the Scala is actually within a 3 minutes walk to the Lorong Chuan MRT station, to Chuan Park, sorry. And it's also roughly about 2 minutes walk to Lorong Chuan MRT station. In terms of distance.
This is also at the side gate actually goes directly to Lorong Chuan MRT.
Absolutely. So in terms of distance, there's not much of a difference. So let's look at the historical transactions of the 2-bedroom over here. And we can see that based on per square foot wise, not too bad for a 10-year-old development at about 1,006 to 1,007 per square foot. Which means that if you look at the year in 2023, the number of transactions that's available for 2 bedrooms itself, right? It seems like the Scala has quite a strong resale demand. Okay. And so you don't have to be too worried if you're someone who's like, I want to buy a Chuan Park. I don't know whether... Okay, Chuan Park is not the name, by the way. There's going to be a new name for it. Maybe the Chuan or Chuan's Residences.
Or Chuan Ping.
Or Chuan Ping. Why Chuan Ping? Okay. Chuan Ping. Okay.
Because Mayor Blue.
Mayor Blue, yes, correct. We are laughing at the new development called Mayor Blue. But okay, back here. So Chuan Park, if you are to sell and exit in the market eventually, right? I just got that joke, pink and blue. Okay. If we go back to Chuan Park, right? One thing you're going to be not too worried about is that there's always going to be resale demand, right? And we're looking at a per square foot that is actually about more than 60%, about 60% price gap, just based on my mental calculation over here, okay? And we go into the 3 bedrooms, okay? The 3 bedrooms, transaction volume-wise seems okay. I'm very certain that when it comes to the supply of the 3 bedrooms at the Scala, there's not much, right? Not many people are looking to sell. At a per square foot, about 1,006. And if we look at the next one at Cardiff Residences. So for Cardiff Residences, it's actually the tenure starts a year later than Scala. And you can see that this is actually a smaller development at 163 units, okay? With an average per square foot of course, historical low at about 745, okay? Average PSF about 1,578 PSF, which brings it to a more than 1,000 per square foot difference. Okay? Just want to emphasize that point.
Yep.
And then when it comes to the walking distance, of course, Cardiff Residences is a 12 minutes walk, not as comparable as just at the footstep of Chuan Park to Lorong Chuan MRT. So if you look at the historical transactions for the 2-bedroom itself, 2023, for a small development with more than 10 transactions, okay, for just the 2-bedroom, it shows that there's very strong secondary demand, okay, because 420 square feet, 431 square feet, 614 square feet. In a lot of older developments, the demand is not very high. But when it comes to Cardiff Residences, it shows that secondary demand is relatively strong. So don't have to worry too much if you're looking to buy Chuan Park and you're thinking whether you can sell or not. Most likely you are able to exit, but how much profits only?
Yep.
Okay. And if we go on to the 3-bedroom, not many people are looking to sell, with the most recent per square foot at 1,001.
I think because for bigger units and being close to school, sometimes once your kid is in the school, right, it's like a 10-year kind of thing. So people don't really move. And that's why the supply in the market is actually, there's a demand, but there is no supply to feed the demand.
So my best friend, I knew him at the age of 10 years old. It's already 18 years. He stayed in Spring Bloom when he was born. 28 years later, now he's a very successful doctor. He's still staying at the Spring Bloom. So obviously, right, the parents don't want to shift. It's a big unit. It's very comfortable.
Yep.
Right? So you're right in that, where it seems like people in Lorong Chuan, they're not looking to shift because they are of older profile.
Correct.
Right? Okay. And let's go on to the 3-bedroom pricing. I think is not extremely relevant because that was 2 years ago pricing. But it's also showed that people are very happy staying in Cardiff Residence.
It also showed that if there is no transactions, it may not mean that there is no demand. Sometimes you just have to take a look back and see if there's actually any supply in the market itself.
Absolutely. Okay, let's go on to the Spring Bloom. Now, of course, I talked about it just now. The tenure started in 1995. It's a 33-year-old development. I have to tell my friend to start selling already. 99 years, 60 years tenure left, just like industrial property. There's a total of 372 units, but a very big development. If you look at the size, right, it's 240,000 square feet, yeah? And of course, prices have climbed that, right? Just outside of Lorong Chuan MRT station, I remember I just take the train and then I go to my friend's basketball court and I start playing basketball with him. And if you're wondering whether playing basketball makes you taller, it's a myth. It doesn't make you taller. So let's look at the 2-bedroom pricing for Spring Bloom, okay? So recent transactions in 2024 for unit 0404 was transacted at per square foot of 1,363 PSF.
I can see last time a 2-bedroom is gigantic.
It's 1,130 square feet. Right now, it's a 3-bedroom premium plus flexi.
Today's 3-bedroom also may not have this size.
No more such sizes. So if you go on to the 3-bedroom at 1,432 square feet, it seems big, right? But fun fact to know is that there's quite a few wasted spaces in the Spring Bloom because I always visit my friend at his house, right? And looking at the per square foot pricing at 1,005 in the most recent transaction at 2024, it seems like there is a demand for 3 bedrooms there as well. So at this moment, I hope that in the faculty of your mind, you can start processing. If I'm going to Chuan Park, I'm going to buy. I'm so fixated, I'm going to buy the Chuan Park. What is the size that you should buy, okay? And think about it. The quantum here is about 2.2. Assuming that a 3-bedroom size at the Chuan Park is about 900 plus square feet at 2,005 per square foot. Based on my quick math, it's going to be about $2.3 million quantum, okay? Quite similar. Actual size a bit smaller. 500 square feet is like equivalent to one whole 1-bedroom apartment. Of course, minusing the wasted spaces as well, it's going to be about 400 plus square feet, right? So let's think a little bit as we are analysing these numbers. Next up, let's look at Chuan Park. I have a friend who's staying at Chuan Park
You have
as
a lot
well.
of friends that stay at Lorong Chuan.
Because my school was in Bishan, so they are all around the area, right? And that's also the reason why a lot of their parents, they didn't want to shift. Yeah, because our school was 6 years, right? So looking at Chuan Park, one of the oldest, or if not the oldest development in the area at 1991 tenure starting, definitely have to ask my friend to sell again. It is already a tenure of 33 years, 66 years left, 500 units, big development. You can see that the tension price, the resistance price in this entire area is about an average of 1,005 per square foot. So it's about a 1,000 PSF difference from the Chuan Park, okay? And distance to the MRT, to Chuan Park is about 3 minutes walk. Distance to the MRT station actually is also about 3 minutes walk because it's just outside Chuan Park, okay? And if we see the 2-bedroom per square foot, nestle a bit further compared to Spring Bloom to the MRT station. The PSF of a 2-bedroom there just transacted 2023 is about 1,004 per square foot, right? And 3-bedroom about 1,004 PSF as well at 1,500 plus square feet, okay? So when we compare our resale developments nearby, right, one thing we want to understand, why are we comparing? It's not to say that, okay, since they are 1,005 PSF, the new launch should be about 1,006 PSF. Okay, if you still have this thought, right, there's a high chance that you fall into two groups. Number one, you may have last invested in 1991. No. Okay. Or number two, potentially you are not in the real estate market yet. Okay. So it's okay, right? There's no stupid questions. You can always fire us those questions in our WhatsApp chat. I'm going to just put the link down below for your QR code. You can scan it, ask us questions. Our client care executive, J. is going to arrange a meeting with our investment consultant. Most likely it's going to be Grace as well. They're sitting in the conversation. But assuming that that Chuan Park launches 10%, let's say the developer now thinking, okay, Lorong Chuan, this is one going to potentially be the only launch in the next 3 to 5 years. I am the monopoly now, and I'm going to launch at 10%, break even. Potentially because it's a bigger development, they want to secure the loan. But if not, I don't think they're going to do that, right? Knowing that Clementi is going to launch at about 2.5, 2.6, Toa Payoh 2.7, 2.8, Lentor is really going at 2.2 per square foot, Woodlands, Champions Way at 2.2 per square foot, and then we have Tembusu, right? There's an interesting development, of course, because of area harmonization, so it looks cheaper than Tembusu Grand, right? So think, right? Are there reservations when it comes to investments? So how we're going to end this video is we're going to go 3 things. Okay, we're going to end it a little differently. Number 1, we're going to give our rating out of 5 stars. We haven't discussed this. Okay, so the number 1 thing is that we all look through our slides together, but we don't discuss the last 3 questions. Number 2, we're going to share with you, does it make our top 5 new launch investment list or not for 2024? And number 3, the BOA approach. Buy, wait, or avoid. Okay? Whatever that we say should not be constituted as financial advice. And if any developers were to see this...
Here.
Yeah, there's going to be a disclaimer. Any developers that see this, we are just thinking from the minds of the consumer, okay? So let's rate.
Yeah,
okay?
what's the first one? What are we going to start with?
Let's start with the 5-star rating first.
Okay,
let's talk about from an investor's perspective. Own stay perspective, investor's perspective.
Okay.
All right? Okay, let's start with the own stay perspective first out of 5.
Yeah.
I'm going to say 3, 2, 1. We say out of 5, how much you rate it. Okay, 3, 2, 1, 4.
3.5.
Wow, okay, quite close. Okay, of course, convenient. Right, Circle Line, great. Okay, I love the Circle Line, right? Marymount, so many places that we have. Okay, now let's talk about investment. Out of 5 star, how much are you going to rate it?
Okay.
3, 2, 1,
2.5.
Okay, same. Why 2.5? Maybe you can explain.
I think for me, I mean, at this point, we don't know what the indicative pricing is. For all we know,
2001.
Definitely a 10 out of 5, right?
Yeah, that would be 100 out of 5.
Yeah, I think at this point we don't have the indicative break even, but I think based on, let's say, we don't have the indicative launch price, but I think based on the break even, if let's say we were to take a 15%, 2.563, even close to 2.6, I feel like there are, in terms of like pure investment wise, there are definitely other better opportunities.
Way better options
in the market itself. But of course, I wouldn't deny the fact for, let's say, own stay, or if you're looking for a school, right? Then this would be an option for you, correct? For your kids, going to, like places around, it's very convenient.
Maybe RGS parents, RI parents, maybe RJC parents, maybe Chuan Presbyterian parents, maybe Patron Public School parents. You want somewhere nearer, it's okay. The road at Lorong Chuan is not the smoothest, just to let everybody know. That's something that I realized because it gets congested in the morning. So I would say it's a 2.5 because based on solely resale price gap analysis, which we follow, and we have seen profits for our resale buyers, okay? I'm just worried. I'm not going to give my answer here. I'm just worried. Okay, let's go on next. Whether is it going to be in our top 5 development? And then we're going to rank it out of our top. If it's not in our top 5. If it's our top 5, great. Maybe end it there. But if it's not in our top 5, roughly which position it holds. Okay, based on what we have. Okay?
Yeah.
So number one, we're going to say yes or no, okay?
Whether it's on our top five.
Yes. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Definite no. Okay, no lah. Okay, it's definitely no. Okay, then let's say what position it is out of 10.
I think for me it would be 8.
Okay. Similarly, mine's about 8 to 9. Yeah. There are quite a few exciting launches that we can take note, and existing launches also. There's a few existing launches that developers haven't increased the price yet, which you can consider as well. Okay. So of course, the last part, assuming at 15% break-even margin, whether is it a buy, wait, or avoid. Okay. Ready?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1. Avoid. Wow. Clear. If you have watched our content enough, you know that we only have like one buy currently. Maybe 2 or 3 wait. Plenty of avoid. Okay. And why avoid?
I think in terms of per square feet wise, if let's say we are talking about pure investments, this means we are not considering like own stay.
Yeah, no own stay elements at all.
There are other developments where the per square feet makes much more sense and where you can enter into something bigger. Because I think for new launch wise, or like let's say even for investment property wise, if we can go bigger, we always say we go bigger because the per square feet increment is not going to be, it doesn't have to be as big as let's say we enter into a smaller unit size.
Personally, I feel that in the out of central region, if let's say we assume that the 3-bedroom is going to be 900 square feet in the Lorong Chuan area, the resale buyers have plenty more options of bigger unit sizes, right? And at a quantum of 2.5 million, assuming it's 900 square feet, I would definitely much rather consider an older development of a bigger size. That's one. Number two, I think there are way more better developments with strong secondary demand as well that is under the 2,500 per square foot.
Yep.
And that being said, there's also plenty of resale options under plenty of resale options rather than Chuan Park that you can consider also.
Yeah. I think one thing to also note that I think our decision is also based on like whatever information that we have right now. That's based on the break-even pricing. Of course, like Jarvis mentioned, right? If Chuan Park the developers do decide to launch it at 2.1, then there's another. Then
I'll regret
story.
buying my second investment property.
So I think the more accurate one will come in once we have the pricing, which on our second part.
Yeah, I think them launching at 2.1, right? It's easier to buy a 4D, not encouraging gambling, than them launching at 2.1 because Kingsford, we know their pricing. They're sensitive, but they're not very sensitive until they become insensitive to the profits. Yeah. So I think you have gotten our answers to this. That being said, everything that we say now is based on estimation. As we have mentioned, what we are doing is that we want to give you some handlebars so that if like right now you're thinking about Chuan Park, every day think about Chuan Park, right? You are going to be like, okay, it seems like the JNA Investments team who has 400 plus investment clients who have profited is not really for it. So maybe I can consider other options as well. But that being said, during the launch day, the launch prices is out, the floor plan is out. For all you know, maybe they'll launch a 3-bedroom at $2 million.
Or like they have like very, very nice floor plan.
Yes, very good floor plan, super practical, can fit everything, right?
Yeah.
Then, okay, like that being said, I don't think so. But okay, but yeah, then we can reconsider this again. Okay?
Because I think new launch, there's also like an element of luck inside. Because it really depends on your ballot number. So if the developers launch it very sensitively and you're like you just happen to get, I don't know, we had clients that got second and those that launched at the start, they launched.
Clients who have gotten 700 out of 700.
Correct. And then towards the end, if they do decide to price stage it up, then it may make sense for those at the start to enter, but maybe not those at the end also. Yeah. So there's a lot of elements involved in the whole process itself.
Absolutely. I have gone to my third asset, right, currently, and I can share with you there's so many stories of success and there's also a lot of stories of failures, right? So remember when I went for my first investment property at 22 years old, I waited 5 hours during balloting day. The per square foot went up and I entered because I felt that I gotten the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory golden
in the
ticket.
days where they do the live balloting.
Absolutely.
Which I think developers are slowly bringing it back.
Yeah, of course. This is to create emotions, right? And especially when there are people that are clapping for you and cheering for you.
Yeah.
So what Grace said is absolutely correct, right? The discipline when it comes to investment is key. Okay, so this episode is definitely brought to you by the JNA Investments team, and we have our new launch review so that you can have better answers, better knowledge, and also some handlebars for you to decide whether you want to enter or not. So if you have yet to join our Telegram community, I'm going to shout out, join our Telegram community over here so that you can get first-hand news on things that's happening in JNA real estate. Number two, if you haven't joined or haven't talked to a real estate agent or you are talking to 10 million real estate agents, there's a total of 35,000 real estate agents over here. On Straits Times, it was just reported, is there an oversupply of not property, but property agents, okay? You can always scan the WhatsApp QR code. It's non-obligatory. You only have to pay us Actually, nothing. Only maybe Yakun coffee or Starbucks lah. For now, okay? Some people ask us, Jervis, Grace, Chris, why don't you all charge for investment consultation? Okay, what's the main reason why we don't charge? Number one, if I'm doing this video to charge you for investment consultation, there's a problem because I'm just doing it just for more profits lah, okay? Yeah. But of course, we earn from our commission, right? But if you can see the amount of projects that we say avoid, it's not really the wisest lah. We just want to think from the consumer's perspective. Number two, why we haven't charged it is because we really feel that real estate investment should be accessible. And if you don't know anything about real estate investments, you just contact us for a non-obligatory discussion. Look at Grace. You think Grace will force you to buy a project? And if, especially in J&A Investments team, we don't force people to buy anything. We actually drop a lot of our clients as well. For those who know us, some of them like, hey, I want you to take up my case, but we can't because currently based on their budget, there's nothing they can buy, nothing good that they can buy, right? So you just contact us for a non-obligatory discussion. Just scan the QR code and I can assure you it will change your life because real estate investment knowledge is so important. I'm on my second asset, my third asset, my second asset has already profited me more than $600,000, right? And this was also advised with a collective effort of the J&A Investments team. And my third asset, okay, haven't seen the profits yet because I just bought it a couple of weeks ago. Later on, I'm going to the lawyer to exercise that project. It's actually a property under Penny's name. And I can tell you, without the J&A Investments team there, I also do get stressed in the balloting day, So stressful, everybody's
even
clapping
after,
and cheering.
the number of times you actually went for a new one, it's always the exciting feeling.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we are so thankful that some of our clients actually walked away from the balloting, which is great as well, right? So it will change your life. And sometimes these profits will also change your family's life, okay? So we just want to bring you proper investment knowledge so you can steward your wealth well, okay? So thank you so much for watching this episode. We hope to catch you for the next one. This is Jervis.
This is Grace.
And we're going to see you for the next episode. Bye-bye.
Bye.